Engineering. This is part 3, and the solution we're looking at today is Accruent's Meridian solution. I'm just going to briefly go through some introductions so you know who you're talking to here in the webinar. I've got a bit of a SolidCAD background for those of you that might not be familiar with our organization. I'll walk through a bit of the challenges that we would hope to solve with the Meridian solution, and then I'll hand it over for a demo at that point. I'm Chris Chapman. I'm Industry Account Manager for the Accruent Solutions, both Meridian Engineering Document Management as well as Maintenance Connection. Patrick Chiron and Daniel Isaac, our technical consultants, are on the phone, are on the webinar as well. Patrick will handle most of the demo itself, and then Daniel will help with the questions at the end. So as we go through, please think about any questions you might have, enter them in the Q&A. Be happy to answer those. A little bit of background on SolidCAD. Been around for over 20 years, focused on design of infrastructure, products, plants, and facilities. We added a Accruent solution about 9 years ago with the purchase of Group Buscom. And Patrick has been actually working with the solution for almost 20 years, so lots of expertise around it. We typically work in the architecture, engineering, construction, as well as infrastructure, of course, manufacturing and plant solution. And today we'll work on focusing on infrastructure a little bit as we go through. Some of the service we provide are on the screen. Specifically, data management is what we're going to focus on today, but we do offer a number of other areas such as support and analysis, and of course, today, events as well. So hopefully at some point we'll get back to doing live events after we get through this COVID situation. Partner products, very well known for Autodesk, Bluebeam, and I'm sure in infrastructure, some of you have worked with this on laser scanning. But today we're going to focus on Accruent. Meridian is mentioned here, and as I said earlier, maintenance connection is also an option from Accruent as well for us, so we have expertise around. Some of the challenges, benefits that you'll see from our solution. Essentially, we help minimize handover issues. We streamline processes for as-built documentation as you develop the project, which minimizes person hours required to essentially work through the whole process of getting documents approved and handed off to owners. We develop a single source of truth that you can leverage and hand off. And obviously, as you'll see, we assign those to assets as well, so you have that documentation at hand. Lots of dashboards, including document progress reporting for project managers and management. And we report and verify asset metadata completeness, so you can keep on top of that, and also provide you with some metrics so that you have some performance data on your contractors. You can save time and money by using role-based security rights, which are assigned within the solution, and that'll keep down your IT administration costs. And I'm sure you'll be able to even see more as we go through the solution. And again, as I mentioned, as we go through the demo, please try and enter any questions you might have in the Q&A session on your dashboard for the Zoom webinar. So Patrick, at this point, I'll hand off the floor to you for the demo and a talk through on the product itself.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chris. So first thing I'm going to do is obviously share my screen. So Chris, if you don't mind, I will take control. Here we go. So save this. Here you go. So normally you should be seeing my screen. Oh, wrong screen here. Sorry about that. Let me just again stop sharing this. Sorry for the recordings and people that are on to this far up instead. The screen right here. Here you go. So Chris, it's good. You're all seeing
I see
my
a bridge right now.
Oh, actually, it's not showing the.
It's a great example of an infrastructure project, in my opinion.
No, sorry, I've got problems sharing this here. So let's just make sure everything is perfect. I think it's this one here. Here we go. So I guess we're down.
There you go. Now you're up and running. Thank you.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to show here. Okay, so So thank you for the nice presentation. Let's start the demonstration. Let me introduce you to the Meridian solution. First of all, we will be using multiple interfaces through that demo. And the first one that we'll be using is the Meridian Explorer interface. This interface consists of a read-only interface, which is ideal for collaboration, for review, to gather some documents, search for documents. This is what we will look at the first section of our demonstration. The second interface we'll be looking at is the Meridian Power interface, which is the one that everybody will be using to add or modify a document. So that really is the core of the interface that most people will be using when modifying documents. Of course, there's also the mobile access, which is ideal for people that are off-site or that wants to work from their phone or tablet. And one interface that we won't be showing today is the Meridian portal, which is basically a cloud-based solution that allow you to exchange documents with third parties or external contractor, everybody that would basically need to change those documents or have access to document without giving them access to your organization internal servers and locations. So the demo today will consist of a two-persona role-based solution. I will be interpreting those two roles. So I'll be switching from one to the other. One will be the maintenance technician, which basically have limited knowledge of Meridian and will consist of having him to search for documentation and request information or request updates to these documents, and we'll eventually go look at these changes and approve the actual change if they are appropriate. The second role I'll be playing also will be the drafter, the person that go and review those requests, those requests for change, will modify the actual document, and will basically release the document when the technician has actually approved my change. So that all been said, let me just fire up the application, and before we go any further, I'll launch the actual Meridian Explorer interface so you can see how it's working and how easy it is to manage within your Meridian. Once you get in, you do have an application that is able to get access to any of the documents. So you may have multiple different views, and that basically show you different documentation on different vaults if you need. In this case, I'll go to my master vault. And as I click on that vault, well, as you can see, the system brings me a neat interface that will allow me to search for document. Because remember, that's not the interface that will be used to add new documents to the system. It's not something that will be designed to feed and modify the documents. It's really something that is designed for search. So when you're actually looking at any application, the best way to search is to actually get the whole picture and then filter down by criteria. And that's exactly what we're seeing right here. So I could basically say, show me all documents. I'm going to do this. And you can see that it provides me a list of, in this case, 8,400 documents. Of course, there may be millions of documents in there. So that's not a great way to find it. However, I can use any of the metadata criteria, including content search, to be able to refine that process. So if I click on the document, of course, if I found my document, I can look at properties, but that's not what I actually want to see here. So let me refine that search a little bit. Let me just show me all of the DWGs. So by just hitting enter, it basically filtered down all of the actual DWGs and provides me a list of all those drawings. I may actually reorder them by doing a sort on any of the available properties that are here. Or if I want, I can also use the actual filters to basically filter these a little more. So if I choose control panel right here, I will basically trim down all the documents that are named for control panel in this scenario right here. Another thing that you can also actually do is choose any other element that you'll find within your drawing to refine that search. So if I go to an electrical drawing, I do a search, I'm down to electrical. As I'm going deeper within the system, the system doesn't filter only the actual documents. It actually filters the actual available options. So as I can see in the plants right now, I see Exton, I see San Paulo, but if I remove those electrical drawings, or let me just remove this and not put anything in here and go to that same plant, well, now I've got Exton and some other places there that basically are available because some of the documents actually are not electrical that are into that region. So that's one way you can actually find your document. So as an example, also, if I click on that AutoCAD file, you can have a lot of information related to that document. That document, I know it's a facility document. Let me just move that a little higher. So you can actually see that it's a facility document. It's currently released, and we can actually see who has actually designed that file when it's been done. But of course, you can find additional information that are not necessarily coming from the document itself. It may be complementary information, like which plants it's tied to, which area it's assigned to, which floor is that drawing made of. So you will basically see a lot of information added to that, including, in this case, the reference. So if you're looking at an AutoCAD file or a file that has a relationship with other documents, well, you can actually see that this document is actually adding another reference document here, the DEDCI, as an external reference for this AutoCAD file. You can also consult and look at all the previous revisions or release of that document. And on each of these release, I do have the ability to look at properties, to open the document in the viewer, or to actually download that file directly. It's all available from here. So there's a lot of different options that the user have. And this, as I said, is an interface that is really designed to do search for those documents. Additionally to that, if I right click, I can see that I can still view, use comment, use the download, or even export the actual reports that you've got here to provide some more information. And if I click on view for that document, you will basically see that a viewer is launched automatically and provides the ability for that viewer to look at the document without having the actual AutoCAD application on his workstation here. So there's a lot of a real feature that are available for people that do not have access to those CAD applications and that will not modify those documents. So I've been talking a lot, so let's come back to our presentation. So I was going to tell you or show you how an asset management specialist, so a maintenance technician, would go into that system to retrieve some documents, which you don't actually know where it is. So, of course, these maintenance technicians won't be working with Meridian. They'll be using with their own tools. And the tools that we're going to use today is Maximo, IBM Maximo, but keep in mind that a lot of different other CMMS systems can be used and integrated with Meridian, including SAP Plant Management, Ultimo, and not the least, there's Maintenance Connection, that is an Accruent software, an Accruent CMMS system that basically do exactly what this needs. So it all can be integrated. Other third parties may not have a direct plugin from Meridian, but we definitely did a lot of customer in the past and integrated those systems very, very nicely within Meridian. So this maintenance technician, let's call me Patrick, whatever, I'm Patrick, so I'm going to stick to my name here. So I'm coming in and I know this tool because that's the tool I'm working daily. So that CMMS system allow me to assign maintenance, to review some of the parts, just look at my stock inventories. I'm able to do all that. So in the example that I'm going to use, I'm just going to go get an actual asset that we've got, and I'll pick up this 11450 asset. And as I click on it, I get all information that relates to that actual asset. So I can see it's a feed water pump right here. It basically has a lot of information that relates to that actual asset. What the good thing about those products is that they normally can attach, and we see it here, we can actually attach documentation to that asset. The problem that we see is that these systems are not really managing those documents. So it means that every time that there's a new release for that document, if there's new documentation, if there's change that needs to be done, well, that maintenance technician should go in and replace that document manually or update it. And as you most likely know, most of the time it won't be done, and you won't be actually sure that you're using the latest and greatest documentation at this point. And that's where Meridian comes in. Meridian is a very robust and very nice tool to be able to search for document. And what you want to ensure is that this maintenance technician will get the latest and greatest release of the documents that he's looking for. So the only thing he has to do, as he doesn't know Meridian, well, he's going to click on that Meridian Enterprise button right here. It kicks up the Explorer interface that we've seen just a little before, but more than that, it basically removes the ability to search for other documents, and it brings him directly to a list of all the documents that are related specifically for that asset. And it's all within that top string right here when I've actually integrated that 11450 into that string itself. So you know that link could be done from any application that is able to generate an hyperlink, basically generate an HTML hyperlink and include a variable into that link that fits a data that we're looking for. So in this case, that was the asset number. And the system brought me all the documents in Meridian that basically has a link to that asset. So as being Patrick, this maintenance technician, I'm going to look at the actual document. So I'm going to click on this one, see it's a PDF. It might be manual for that maintenance. It might be anything else. I'm going to click on that DECCI because that's a design drawing, and that seems to be the actual document because based on the title, it's the Urbania string project right here. That's what I'm looking for. So as he found it, he may double click on the file to see the actual metadata of the document. So I can look at the document as we've seen a little before, see all of the actual details. But of course, what he wants to do is go look at it. But we're going to go a little step further. I'm going to click on the Comments tab. I will see the actual viewer loading up, and you will see a nice rendition of that actual drawing that I'm looking for. So I've actually found that Urbania Spring document into the system. And the reason why this document came up with the search, it's basically because if I zoom into the drawing a little bit, if I zoom right here, I can actually see that in that lot right here, there's a little pump. There's a pump that has been added, a pumping station that has been added within the system. We can just see it a little bit better. Proposed sanitary pump station is available right here. So I'm looking at this drawing and I basically realized that last week we've basically requested to basically add a second pump as a backup unit, basically because this pump, if it fails, there's going to be major issues. So what I would want is to basically signify that there's changes that are requests that are needed to that actual document, and I would like to trigger a modification to that actual document. So let me just open up the little tool. So I've got my red lines there. So again, I'm not a drafter. I'm not supposed to know Meridian at all, but I can fire up that tool and basically use the actual drafting options to basically highlight whatever I want as a modification. So I may just put a round circle right here and maybe put a note. As I open my note, I can actually read the content of my note right here. So please add a new pump as or for backup unit. And that would be the actual type of modification I could do right here. And let's say I want to put that right here. Once this is completed, once I've put all of my markups and requests, I may save my change, and the system will basically show me the actual comment that was added. So if I refresh my screen right here, what's really nice about that interface is that somebody else could go look at that document and add additional document or additional markup. Let's say, please review drawing as requested by Patrick. Here you go. So review drawing as requested by Patrick. I can submit that. I can actually attach additional documents. So if I click here, I've got the ability to go browse for additional documentations that I may find within my system to basically reinforce the actual comment that I've added right here. And as I click and save that document, submit it, you'll see that there's a tracking ability of everyone that actually did a comment to see what it does. And if I want to click on this one, you'll see that the layer that appears or that was done for that specific comment will basically appear and be redrawn on the document. So each comments have its own set of information and may be remodified and commented by other users. So that makes it very, very nice for an application to use. Once this is all done, well, at this moment, notification can be triggered by Meridian and will be sent to the actual responsible or manager of these sets of documents. And that would be what this maintenance technician would have done at this point. So let's come back to our PowerPoint. Let's go back here. So to look at this, what we just covered within that first demo is that we're able to search for asset-related documentation. We're able to request update to a document, and that's what this maintenance technician has completed. So now it's time to actually look at the actual drafter processes. We will take the actual drafter role, and within that demo, we will basically receive the change request. We will be modifying the actual documents that were requested by the maintenance technician. And at the end, we'll basically submit it back to that maintenance technician for some kind of a review to confirm that my change are appropriate. In order to do those tasks, I'm actually going to use the Power User Web interface. That is the interface that must use all of the persons that will be adding new documents, that will be changing or modifying those documents, or that needs to do modifications to in any way to the actual filing structure itself. So that's what we're going to do right here. So let's get out of that PowerPoint. And what you can actually see within that interface here is our Power Web interface, which basically show you the actual filing structure of all these documents. Because of course, if you have technical drawing, you know that you must have some kind of a filing structure in order to keep reference through documents to keep the relationship between the files itself. So it's all drilled down right here. Of course, that demo is really specified using a master copy and a project copy right here, but any filing structure that you want to implement within the system, it's all customizable. So it's really your choice of filing up your documents. So you can actually browse to your documents if I know the location. So if I go to Exton and I go to look at in our infrastructure, look at the DED file, I can actually find that DED-CI file, 0011 file that we were looking for. However, sometimes you may not be looking for the actual filing structure. You could use the actual navigation views to basically restructure your filing in order to view the actual documents in a different way. So if I go through, let's say, facility breakdown right here, you will basically be able to see that in Pennsylvania, US, you've got Exton, and you see the building one, you see engineering. So we don't see the actual same filing structure that we found. We may change it for actually see the status in person. which basically shows the document based on their actual state. So I can see that there are files that are under change right now, and Jason is actually modifying that FCT file right here. That's one way to see it also. I can also drill down. Something that may be useful in the context right here is from active comments. So if there were comments added to a document into Explorer, we can actually drill down the information to find the actual documents that do have comments in there. And we can see we've got two documents, one of them being the DED file that we've just commented just a little earlier. So we can basically find the documents exactly where they want. And what's really neat is the system remembers what files your focus is on. So if I come back to that actual physical filing structure, the system will remember and will basically bring me to that same file into the hierarchy that we've seen earlier today. So that's how you can retrieve file. But of course, the task of performing changes to the document are sometimes not as obvious as going into the system and trying to modify that document. So I may actually fire up any application. I'll use Word as an example right here. So I'm firing up Word. I'll basically start from a blank new drawing document, and I'll just write something here. Test for document in Meridian. So of course you'll be modifying your file as you normally do. As it's saved that document, so I hit the save button, I have the ability to choose the blue Cello Meridian application right here. And what's really neat is that any application that you've got on your workstation will and may be integrated with Meridian without any additional plugins. There are plugins that were added to most of the application, like those Office documents and those AutoCAD drafting application. But if I pick any other application, let's say Paint, Microsoft Paint, is there something that nobody uses? Here we go, you've got something here. I haven't done any configuration whatsoever on the workstation, but as I click on that little save button, the system indeed allow me to choose that little vault that is added automatically by Meridian plugin on the workstation that allow me to basically click and save the document directly into Meridian. So I've got an authentication process that is starting up because I'm working actually from a cloud-based environment. And as this application has started, you can actually see that I can choose from which vault I want to which vault, sorry, I want to save that document. And then once I'm connected to that vault, I can actually browse and save that document as I would normally do. So that's very, very easy at that point. So let's do the same task using Word. So I click on Meridian. I click on Word, on Browse, sorry. And as I click on Browse, of course, I get that authentication process that came in, and it allows me to save that document. I'm going to use test1 as an example here. I know that's not the name you want normally to have saved within your system, but I want to demonstrate a little something also within that process. So I'm just going to fill in the actual information. So let's say that this is a, let's say let's just go with operation document. As you can see, it completed some of the information like the operating code. I'm going to say that it's a basic operating manual. So it basically will put my bum into the classification code. And I don't have anything more to complete. So I'm going to click next. And I get to the actual page where I've got more information, because as we are entering information, it's very nice to complete the most information so it can be actually found later. So I'm going to click on Finish 2 here. And at this moment, the system will do something special. It does save the actual document, but it does also a little more. You will see that the actual file name, where is my file name? It's right here. So it's been renamed BOM-0A or OA-002. Basically, we've applied a naming convention on the save processes, and it works very, very nicely within Meridian. What you also need to consider is that if you're saving some AutoCAD documents that have reference, well, if you're using the AutoCAD plugin, the reference will be considered and will also be renamed, but the link between those references will never be actually lost. They'll be modified also, so you'll keep track of all of your drawing. Of course, that naming convention is something you want to program or not. You may design it exactly as you want. That's one of the power of Meridian right here. And as I'm going to close that document, well, my modification has been completed, and I can actually see what's going on with my project. So coming back to the interface here, I can look at my to-do list, and I will quickly find here what are the actual documents that I'm currently modifying. So I actually see that second BOM02 file that was created that is currently under change by Patrick. And if I'm completely done with it, I can just go with my document workflow and basically issue or revoke or basically end up the actual workflow for that document. Another quick way that you can actually use to insert or to create new documents into Meridian, it might not be always the technician that will fire up a new document. So you've got the ability to create yourself documents from templates. So if I go to that operation folder, I can right click here, create myself a new document, and basically specify what type of document it'll be. And once that document has actually been selected, I can choose from a set of templates that have already been saved within Meridian. So you no longer have to copy those templates over to all of the actual workstation users. You do have the ability to start a document from an existing template. So it creates the document and you start to modify it. That's very easy. Also, you might receive those documents from an external party. So as an example, let's just look at the import right here. I've got a set of 4 different files, and I want to import these into Meridian. So I'm just going to go into that DED folder right here. And I'm going to take all of these documents and basically drag them directly into Meridian. Even if it's a web interface, it does allow drag and drop of documents from your workstation to the actual interface, and basically is capturing all of those dragged document and will save these into the actual selected folder structure. I can also ask to synchronize the reference from file, which means that every time or at the time that this document will be imported into Meridian, it'll check in each of these to see if there's reference between each other to basically recreate those reference between the documents. So I'm just going to choose again, Facility Documents, click on OK. Oop, I went a little too quick here, but I'll show you that later. I will apply this for all document types, yes. And what I wanted to show is that the previous window allowed me to select that document type for all type of documents that are using this extension. So let's click on next on this. And that's why I should have clicked it on the first time. It allowed me to choose it this time. And if I click next, well, it doesn't ask me again to fill in these information because I've set the actual apply to all button. So you don't have to fill in all of these documents one by one. So once these documents are imported, what I wanted to show is that if I click on my master site plan right here and look at the actual reference that exists between both, and you can actually see that this document refers to those 3 documents that I've imported. And if I go back to that EX41 file, I can see that this one is being referred by the master site plan right here. So you do see the relationship that exists within those documents. And once these links are done, you could rename, you could move those documents over into the vault, and you will always be able to open up those documents without having a broken reference into AutoCAD. That's how the system works. So I've been speaking again for a couple of minutes, and I want to come back to the actual demonstration. So considering that I'm the drafter, again, let me repeat a little bit the scenario. I'm the actual drafter, and I should have received a notification request, something that would tell me to go modify that document. So one of the way is to actually use email notifications. So if I open up my Outlook, I will see that I've received a document information. I'm opening up that email, and it's very straightforward. There's not nothing that has been added to that email, but keep in mind that this can be all customized. If you want to have a specific formatting, if you want to basically customize that notification, we can definitely make it look very much better to your environment. So here it tells me that Patrick Charon has added a red line to that document. I'm going to click on the actual document right here, and it brings me to the actual folder structure and the actual documents that that actually includes that document. So if I click on that document here, I do see the actual document. And as I found it, I'm going to click on comment on the comment tab, and it basically allows me here from the Power interface. Let me just make this full screen so it looks better. It basically allows me to show the actual drawing and see the actual comments that were done. So I can see that Patrick 37 minutes ago requested to review the drawing. I'm able to click on this one here, and I'm able to actually see the notification. And if I open up that tab here, I can actually see, please add the new pump for that backup unit. So it's very clear as of what modification I need to do. I can go in and scale as we did to look at the actual document modification. I can see exactly what it needs to, not what needs to be done. And if I wish, I could basically go in here and respond to those comments saying that I'm starting it or whatever operation. But for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just going to fire up a modification to that document. So how do I modify a document? First of all, I see that it's a master document, and we could grant the user the ability to fire up a modification directly to that document. But the way we've configured Meridian here, we preferred never to modify a master. So basically our as-built document, we prefer never to modify the documents into that as-built folder section. Basically because that becomes the reference for all of our documents, and we don't want to have a document under change into that actual location. So what we're going to do in order to keep a little more control over the file, we are going to basically change that document into a project. So I'm going to basically create myself a project copy and lock this document up in order for nobody to be able to go change that document while it's being modified into that project. So as I click on this, it asks me which project I want to save it in. I'm going to use my SolidCAD infrastructure, the one that we've saved documents up to. And I'm basically confirming that this is where the file should be going. And as you can see, there's a copy of that document that was basically brought into my SolidCAD folder with my master plan that I've uploaded just a little earlier. And one thing I can actually see is that for this document, I've got that little worker icon right here that basically allow me to basically see which document it's related to. So I can basically switch from the actual master document that is currently locked. We can see it from here. And we see that this is a copy, an actual copy of that document that was made for modification purposes. So good, it's currently into a modification project, but now what? So I'm just going to right click on that document, and I can actually choose if I want to do a change to that document. And if I had enough time for the demonstration, I can actually choose to send a copy of that document to the Meridian portal to be modified by those third-party contractors, as I've seen it. But I'm not going to go that route. I'm basically going to start a change. But let's try to make that even easier. I'm just going to, as you would do in Meridian, into any Windows system-based, I would double-click on the file. And as I did that, the system asked me to download a copy of that document. Because I'm working from a web environment, it's going to download a copy of that document, and I'm going to mark this document as being under change. So let's say I want here to, actually the comment that is there is perfect, adding additional backup pump, so I may type it in, choose an existing comment if I've got something that already exists. And that's exactly what I want to do here. I want to continue. So I basically wait until the system creates that copy of that document, locks the file up, and basically launch the application and opened up the actual document locally. So it's really a no-brainer to open up these documents directly from the web. So I'll just wait until my AutoCAD is finally loaded. Here you go. I get to this actual file. It's currently the DEDCI0011.dwg file right here. It's exactly the file I wanted. And I'm in a position where I can actually modify the document. So let's first, I know my performance aren't great here. So I'm just going to zoom into that section right here. I actually see the pump. I will take, oops, let's get out of the zoom function. I'll zoom a little more. Oh, I need to get into the viewport. Here we go. Sorry about that. A little bit of knowledge here. I'll copy the document. Oop. Once I've selected the document, I will copy that document, move it aside, and let's say I want to create that backup copy. I'm just going to put it aside right here. So document looks nice, change or seems to be appropriate. I won't go into a drafting course right here, so let me just zoom back out. So I see the actual plan. I see those two little engines or pumps has been added. And at this moment, I'm just going to save my document back and close my document. Here you go. So the document has been closed. Once it's done, you can actually see that that document was marked as being under change. So it's currently in use locally by my workstation. Somebody else that would go in the system would actually see the username and the machine where it's being edited. So you have a traceability of where the file is being used. And as my documents are complete, well, I need to, let me just click here. I will show you the actual workflow that exists that has been configured within the system. And right now, so I started a change to my document, and I've got the ability to either issue the change right away or send it for review. And because of the demo, the way I've talked to you about that application, we're going to enforce a review of that document. So I'm going to send it in a review state. Keep in mind that each of these actions and state for the documents are customizable. So you can create your own set of workflows, and on each actions, you can actually decide what is going to occur within that action. It may change some property values. It may send a notification by email. It may basically do whatever you want within the system. And within each of the actual states, you can choose who is granted access and what type of access to the document will be there. So once into a review, the document may not be modified anymore. It can only be either accepted or rejected. And if it's rejected, it starts back for a modification process. So you can basically design your own workflows and make it very, very simple, a simple process to use. So as here, just going to right click on the document and ask basically somebody to do a review of that document. So I'm going to start a review. And of course, I can actually choose who would be the actual person that would be doing that review. Unfortunately, I'm alone in that demonstration, so I'm going to send it to myself. I could select other users. I can actually add a comment. So changes were completed. New pump added, whatever information I want to put here, and I click on OK. As this is done, you can see the document or the system basically pulls the document back on the server, initiate the change request, and puts it into a state where it's currently under review. So my modifications, changes that I wanted to do to that document are actually completed on that state. So let's return back to our PowerPoint to see where we're up to. Okay, so at that point, we have received the change request. We've applied the modification to the document, and we basically have submitted the document for review. Sorry, I'm missing a little check mark right here. So I'm submitting the document for review. So these 3 actions have been completed, and I'm now in the states where I'm going to flip back to the technician and start my reviewing process. Perfect, so let's get rid of that PowerPoint. Let's minimize that part. And so the goal of the presentation here, we're back to our maintenance technician that needs to do approval to basically look at that document, and in order to be able to perform that demo, I'm just going to, let's leave this one open. I'm going to use another tool, which is the Meridian mobile in this scenario right here. So let me just fire up this. You're actually looking at my phone, and the reason why I'm trying to do that to mobile, well, let's pretend that maintenance technician actually left the office. He went out on the field, and it's nice that you did those modifications, but he's actually out of the office and he would want to complete that process. So I'm going to go to my Meridian application locally on my phone. And what's really nice is that the system brings me to my to-do list right away. But before I start the my to-do list review, let me just show you what this interface can actually do. Of course, if you're running from a tablet, it may be on a landscape mode. You may be able to have a little more space, but I'm actually using my phone right here. So it's not as obvious as I would want to display or to present you that demonstration. So first thing, I can see right here that if I click on that single button, I've got access to the actual documents. So if I search for that, the file was DED-CI because I know the file name. Well, if I hit enter on this, it finds the actual files that contains that DED-CI. It's looking at the property, metadata, but it's also looking at the file name or content of the document here. So I'm able to find the actual document, and I see that Urbania Spring document that I was looking for. So yeah, that's how you are able to search for some of your documents. So it's not, it's a pretty nice tool here. I can click on any of these documents. So let's click on this document right here, and you can actually see the actual documents that you're looking for. And if I click again, I'm going to have the ability to basically look at the document. And let me just switch the monitor. So I basically put my document, my phone on the side. You can actually decide to see it in a landscape mode instead of doing this. And of course, because I've got my little pen right here, I'll use my finger just to draw something up here. So you won't see it on the cursor, but you can actually see that I can drop or write whatever information or draft that I want to do here. And as I click on the little check mark, this drafting will actually be recorded. I can zoom like any other application. You just use your 2 thumbs to zoom to a section of the document. You're able to still do markups. So it's pretty convenient to look at plans remotely or any type of documents remotely here. So I'm not going to save any of these. Let me just go back to a portrait mode. Here you go. So I've got my documents. I've got some properties that I'm able to find. And I'm also able to look at the actual existing comments of the actual document. So let me just get my DED file that we're seeing. So if I click on comments, you can actually see those comments that we did, the red line. If I click on it, will bring me the actual viewer and will show me the existing comments that were done onto that document previously. So a little bit faint, but let me just zoom a little bit on this. You can actually see my comment that was actually done to that that document. So it's easy to browse and find some documents. However, there's other tools. Let's pretend that this tool was for that maintenance technician to find its document a little easier. Well, keep in mind that I can actually click on that little asset button, which shows me all of the actual assets that are saved within my system. I can do a search if I know the actual number, but what's really cool is that this asset management person can actually use this little button right here and use the actual camera to scan a barcode. So you're seeing something funny right here. You're looking at the camera from my phone. Let me just open up a pump. And I'll hide the camera a little bit just so I can actually control what you're going to see. Oh, here we go. Perfect. That's what I wanted to do. So I basically brought up a little pump station. And of course, that person would basically want to scan a code. So what's really neat is that as soon as you put a barcode in front of the camera, which actually was found onto that actual pump, it brings up the actual 1145 file right here. It brings me the actual documents into my result. Let me just make this a little bit more clearer. I'm going to open up that side by side. It's going to be better. Let's go back to my camera. And as soon as I move my mouse over to that barcode, boom, the actual application updated itself and found the actual asset. So that's a pretty cool tool to use on the process. So what's the use of seeing that asset? So let's close that picture again. I can find the actual tag number information, that feed water pump information that we found into my asset management system. It's been replicated into Meridian, so we can actually see that information right here. I can actually find related documents from here, and I can actually get to that DED file from the actual application. So what I actually did using the previous interface, using Explorer, I can actually do it using that mobile interface to be able to do that comment. And what's really, really cool about this is that if I use these as a phone to do any comments, so I go to the comment here, and let's add a new comment. So I'm going to type it right here and say, okay, this is the newly, or sorry for the errors, newly installed pump. And you know what? I'll do something very quick here. I'll open up that drawing a little bit here. Let's say I'm on site actually. And with this, I want to take a picture. So as you can see at the bottom right here, I've got the ability to attach a file or a picture, or I can actually click on my little picture button. I can actually use my phone again and just take a picture of that nice little pump that I have attached here. I'm going to click on OK. So I was on site. So I basically added the actual information and added additional documentation to the actual document. So I'm going to send this. And once everything is sent, you can actually see that I've got my comment and the pictures I've just taken within the system. So I could use that camera to reinforce the comment that I just made and to request modification or whatever. That becomes a very, very nice tool. So that's what the actual tool is doing. If I want to do confirmation, let's say I did not want to search for these. So let me just go back to my initial item. So I'm just going to click back. I go to my to-do list, and I know just by looking at the front end page right here that I've got some documents that are in need to be reviewed. And if I click on that document, I will see everything that occurred to that document, and I can see the comments change were completed, the new pump was added. So I can review the document from here. Clicking on the icon, I can show the actual file as I just did a couple of seconds ago. And what I can actually do is click on this little button right here to basically signify that I approve or reject or submit for approval which were the actual 3 steps that were available when I was showing you the actual workflow course. So as this user clicks on approve, well, his information is completed. I need now to type a comment. So accepted changes. I'm not good at typing on phone, but oops, just saw what I just typed right here. Nice job, perfect. So this is set. I approve this. And as this change is completed, everything goes back to Meridian, and my job as a technician for the approval has been completed. So now that you've seen what you can actually use the mobile application for, you can definitely integrate this within your workflows and your daily jobs managing those documents. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. We can now see that we have reviewed our document change. We have approved the document change. We've done all of these tasks. The last thing that I must do to complete that demo is to basically release the actual document as the latest and greatest modifications. And it could have been done by itself, but I'm going to keep this as an additional steps within my interface. So let's close that mobile application again. Go back into the power user as that drafter. So I would be representing now the drafter person. And as it's been accepted, I'm just going to go here. I was under the impression that it was there. Oh, it is there. Perfect. Needed a refresh. So you see the DDCI001 file is here, but it's no longer locked. I'm just going to go back here. You can see that it's been modified by Patrick. It's just been accepted. Nice job, it's completed. And the document is still into my project for modification, but it's not under change anymore. So the document has actually been released. If I would have shown you the workflow, you would see that it's come back to an end state where it's been issued. So at that point, the only thing I need to do is to take that document, go into my project, and basically release it as the new latest and greatest master revision. So as I click on this, the document is basically sent back into my master area. If I click on to the document itself, I'm basically just going to look at the revisions for that document, and I can clearly see that the document was on revision 1, and after completed the process, well, it came back as revision 3, basically because I made a test before, and that release 2 revision had been deleted before. So you would have a sequential revision number right here that would show each individual release of the actual documents. Again, just as an addition to that, you can view any of these renditions as you want, but if you click both, you do have the ability to use the compare rendition menu that basically will open up the single document, each single document, and provide a comparison between those 2 documents so you can actually see what changes were done. So if I click on this, there's a rendition in process. So I basically caught it probably a little quickly. And you can see in gray everything that has not really been changed. So unchanged is in black, and you see the additions in green. So this has been added, and if there were items that had been deleted, you would see them in red. Let's go back to that PowerPoint again. We've seen that the document was released as a master revision. So we're very happy to conclude that presentation.
Great. Thank you very much, Patrick. That's a lot of information in a short time frame, and we're just really up at right at the top of the hour. Not a lot of questions, so hopefully it looks like you've done a pretty good job explaining everything. Maybe one thing I thought maybe you could talk to, Daniel, is just the mobile side. What happens when organizations don't have good Wi-Fi out to the field? We saw some mobile capabilities. Is there a chance that you can download those documents and allow mobile users to have that data for their use, regardless of the connectivity.
Yeah, I believe there's a synchronous support, so you can actually pull down information offline. I think it's a common scenario when you're using a tablet or a mobile device on site where you don't actually have access. So you do have that capability. It's a good question.
Okay, great. And a couple of quick points I'll just make before we let everybody go. One is that I think we're looking at the cloud solution today. I also want to let you know that in Canada, sometimes it's an issue. People want on-premise solutions. So that is available. And if any of you are interested in seeing more on the portal, it's really its own a demo unto itself. And we'd be happy to do that for you. If you have additional questions that come up after we're done here, you can reach out to me, please, at chris.chapman@solidcad.ca or give a call to your SolidCAD Autodesk or rep if you know who that is, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Unless anyone else has any comments, I think we're done for the day, and I'll let everybody get back to work. Great, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you all.
Cheers.